4, 3, 2, 1. Preparing for it, preparing for it, preparing for it. Now I want to think. Hey guys, it's Sherri Somers, your revenue attraction educator. This is your day, guys. We have an amazing lineup for you. Listen, you already know when I jump on, you need to share the live, you need to share the broadcast because it's going to be good today, and today only. We have an amazing guest with us today. It's the beautiful Raeshal Solomon. She is in the house. Raeshal is an author and speaker of financial literacy, and she talks about how to keep more of the money that you make. I'm excited to have her on board. I'm excited to talk to her. First of all, Raeshal, thank you for taking time out your busy schedule to educate the masses. But before you get all into the deep conversation, tell us what you do and tell us more about you. And I go off camera so you can talk more about who you are.
All right. That sounds good. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here today to share with your masses a little bit about how to keep more money in their pocket. I am Raeshal Solomon. I am an author, speaker, and a financial teacher. I gave myself the title of financial teacher after I went from $400,000 in debt to $40,000 in debt in 4 years. But it's not enough to know the knowledge. You have to actually share it. You have to implement it, and then you can call yourself a financial teacher. So I happily go around the country teaching financial literacy to women as well as to children. I also have a podcast called Raeshal Speaks, where I speak to other entrepreneurs and we talk about the ins and outs of financial literacy and or finances in your business. So I started this process when I started my process of getting out of debt. I started writing children's books and started teaching kids about money. And then as I got older and as my journey progressed, then I started teaching adults.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love what you said about also literally teaching children, because my son is really into business as well. He owns a portion of my company. So he's really into starting his own business. So I'm glad that you can literally, we need to understand that if we're going to change the next generation, we got to educate the next generation, right? And what I'm seeing as a full-time entrepreneur, as yourself and me, we are trying to figure out how to do something that other people never done, but we also don't want to go broke in the process of doing it. So with that being said, can you give us like your 5 tips when it comes to entrepreneurship, as in like what you would say that we need to know in order to keep some money that we have coming in? Because God knows, honey, we know we need automation. We know we need systems. We know we need our child. Every day my son come home from school and there's something he needs. And I'm like, this was the budget. But I'm like, I try to justify, say, okay, it's my son. You know what I'm saying? So what are the things that in your essence that you would say that we need in order to keep more money of the hard-earned money that we make? Go ahead and tell us about that. And I'll be sharing it over here.
Okay. So let's start with tip number 1. First of all, you need to keep your money separate, because as entrepreneurs, what we have coming into the business and what we have going out in our personal lives are not the same, right? Because entrepreneurs have that tendency that we'll get some money coming in the house and we don't have a business account for it necessarily. It all goes in one pot. And then like, oh, my son, he needs this for school. Oh my, you know what I mean? Oh, they got this coming up. Let me just go ahead and take a little bit out of this entrepreneur pot. Like, no. That's not how that works. It all goes in the entrepreneur pot. And then you need to pay yourself a paycheck. You need to decide how much money is this business going to make me, or how much money can I afford to take out of my business, especially in the beginning, because you have 2 kinds of entrepreneurs. You got entrepreneurs who got a side hustle or their main job, but they really want to be an entrepreneur full time. Then you have the full-time entrepreneur. Either way, you should be getting a check. Are you paying yourself, or is your side hustle paying you while you are an entrepreneur?
Oh, I love that.
You got to have two separate accounts. You got to have a business account, and you got to have a personal account. Okay.
So, okay, one of the questions I get a lot in my business, because I help women increase their earning power, right? And I'm through live stream. And one of the things I get all the time, well, Sherri, when I get this profit, or when someone buy my digital course, how much money goes into profit? How much money goes into running the business? And I get that question all the time. As an expertise in your field, how do you differentiate how much money goes into what? You know, you got to pay your tithes. I'm big on that. What would you say towards that?
Okay, so the answer actually depends on the individual. And I'm going to tell you two reasons why. One, there's two different phases of business. There's your hustle launch phase. So you need every penny you got invested back into your business so that your business can, one, grow, and or two, you're only spending a certain amount of money for a temporary amount of time. Let's say you're planning an event and your event costs, $5,000. God, I wish. I wish. But if your event only costs like $5,000, then until you got that $5,000, to put into that event, either that means you're selling tickets and you're using that money, you're finding sponsors and you're using that money, or you're doing it grassroots and you're paying for it out your pocket, then you don't need to pay yourself until that is handled. Or there's two, that you're making a consistent amount of income every month, and your household needs $4,000 minimum a month just for the lights, the water, the rent, the cable. That ain't for no emergencies. That ain't for, then that is what you need to be making for you out of your business. Just like when you go, like when you go to get a job and you working for somebody else, you cannot leave that negotiation table if you're not making $30,000 a year, or $50,000 or $80,000, whatever your household needs to survive. You're like, I cannot leave this negotiation table if I'm not making this amount when I say yes to this job, because then my family won't be able to survive. So,
wow.
Go ahead.
Wow, I love that, because I am about, this is how you get the money, this is how you make the money. You're like, you're the part that says this is how you keep the money that I just show you how to make. Okay. And I love that. And let me tell you why I love that, because what you're saying to me is, you first know your expenses and know your lifestyle, right? Know your expenses, know your lifestyle, put that together so you know how much money you need to make per month. So whatever your revenue stream is, you need to be bringing that in. If you're not bringing that in, which I know that's part 3, you're going to probably touch on, is you need to cut costs somewhere, right? You need to cut costs somewhere so you can see that in your business. I realized that the hard way, honey, the hard way. Because as entrepreneur, you and I both know we don't get paid like every 2 weeks, right? Not like the average 9-to-5 person. So as an entrepreneur, money comes in different ways. So our bills payment is going to actually set up a different way, right? So how help free some people up right now? What is this? How do they, knowing that their bills come in the same time every month, but their payment with their clients may be different? Can they get around that?
Okay, so you actually went right into my next tip.
Hold up, before I go into your tip, if you're listening to this broadcast, go ahead and tag somebody, share it live. Y'all know when we come on, you need to grab your journal. If you don't have a Sherri Somers journal already, grab it. Y'all know when we come in here, it's nothing but nuggets that we drop in here. So hold up, before you go to tip number 3, share this broadcast. Somebody need to hear this, especially if you're an entrepreneur planning an event or planning something. We got the beautiful Raeshal Solomon is in the house. She's an author and speaker about financial literacy. Go ahead and tag somebody that need to hear this. People are coming in. People are tagging. I love it. I love it. I love it. Keep it going. Keep it going. Yes. So we're talking about ways to keep the money that your hard-earned money that you earn. earn. And we have a double-headed sword right now because we have how to increase your earning power from me, and you have how to keep that earning power when you get it. So I love it. All right, Raeshal, go ahead and drop number 3 for us in the house. You're doing such an amazing job.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so number 3, no, this is not a secret. Everybody knows that they're supposed to do this, but they don't. So let's say we're going to create a budget because we're going to go back to that part. You need to know, one, how much money does your household really need? How much does your household really need? I'm not talking about let me cut my coffee, let me cut my cigarettes, let me not eat so much out. No, that's what I'm not talking about. How much money does your house need to function on a month-to-month basis? Do you know that bottom line number? I'm not talking about birthday gifts, Christmas. I'm not talking about vacation. How much money do you need just to keep on the lights, just to keep the rent, just to keep the car, the phone, the whatever else you feel is a necessity? If you gotta have that Starbucks every day, that's a necessity. That's your necessity. I'm not telling you to cut that, but do you know your number? Is your number 4,000? Is your number 6,000? Is your number $3,215? Do you know that number? And until people start writing it down and really putting it on paper and adding it all up, why do people avoid the numbers and then get frustrated when their bank account is like 0? You don't even know your number. Like if you're an entrepreneur and you're working towards a goal, what goal are you working towards?
All right, stop right there. What is your number? If you're listening to me right now, what is your number? What is that number that you need to run your household consistently, including your expenses and your lifestyle that you need? She's not talking about your Starbucks coffee. She's not talking about that gift card that you got to buy for somebody's present. She's talking about to keep the lights, water, food, shelter, water, clothing on. What is that number? What is your number that you need to make per month, right? To make sure that your home stays afloat. Right? That what is that number? Right? Go ahead and drop it down right now in the comment. If you're on the sound of my voice, go ahead and drop it down right in the comment. I see y'all commenting. I love it. I love it. I also have you guys on Watch Party, and I also have it on my Facebook page. So I love it. What is that number that you need to make to keep your family afloat? I want to touch on something else that you said because I was in Dallas the other day. Shout out to my Life Camera Profit group from Dallas. And one of the things I said, how much money do you want to make? So as a revenue attraction coach, they would tell me all sorts of numbers. Some say 15,000, some say 20,000, some say 30,000, Raeshal. And then I said, well, what is your expenses? And they're like, my expenses like 3,000, 2,000, 5,000. Right. So I'm like, well, if you want to make 20,000, your expenses is 5,000. That's 15,000 extra dollars. Don't get me wrong, I'm all about the coins, but do you really need $15,000 if you can't even handle the 5 that you see what I'm saying? Right. And that was an eye opener for the ladies. And so let's talk about being realistic when we talk about how much money do we really need? Because I think we go so big that we don't even have to develop the belief system to identify that we can actually have that number. Let's try making the little 3,000 over the 5,000 that we actually need, which would probably put us at 8,000 that month. Right. So let's start there. What would you say to that? Because I guarantee you with that 5,000, if they realize some of the things they can cut in that expenses, it would probably bring them to that goal. Right? Wouldn't you say?
I believe, okay, so what you're saying is true because at every phase, at every stage, there's different financial responsibilities. And once again, you brought me to the next one, which is hire the right people, because your tax bracket at 5,000 is not your tax bracket at 8,000, and that is not your tax bracket at 15,000 a month. So what people have to understand is you have to hire somebody, and your financial responsibilities in your business is not going to be the same at 5,000 as it is going to be at 10,000 or 15,000. So you have to be able to hire the right people in your business so that they can help guide you. When I say hire the right people, I mean like CPAs, attorneys, because at a certain point, when you get to a certain number and you got kids, you don't just need a will, you need a trust. I'm
Mm.
saying?
Speak on it.
And
Speak on it.
And the last thing you need is the IRS coming behind you because you didn't file those taxes properly, or you had somebody else file them and they didn't file them properly. You need to make sure that you're keeping money. So how do you keep money? With tax deductions. Well, how do you know what to deduct if you haven't been keeping track of any of it? You've been making all this money, and at the end of the year, you're like, well, I got a box. It got some receipts in it, but I didn't know which receipts I was supposed to have. So no. See, you got to hire the right people. So in January or April, February, whenever your tax season is over, let's say you filed your taxes January, 15th or whenever, and somewhere between January and April, okay, you need to have another meeting in May or June with your tax person and say, hey, CPA, can you tell me what all do I need to give you for next year's taxes? What all do I need to keep track of? Should I be keeping track of my miles? Should I be, so I always do a CPA interview in December at the end of the taxes so people can get ready on my show, Raeshal Speaks, so people can get ready for the next year, not for this year's taxes, but for the following year's taxes.
Okay, so you said something about Raeshal Speaks. Where can we find that?
Okay, so you can go to Blog Talk Radio, and it's my podcast, Raeshal Speaks, and I do interviews with entrepreneurs and business professionals.
Okay, awesome. So I wanted to really talk about that. Stay right there. So I know me, and like any other entrepreneur myself, I hate doing taxes, y'all. I hate it. So because I know I hate it, I have a tax. See, we don't want to think of CPAs until like end of the year. We should again, bad mindset. Which our CPA should be growing with us along with our business, right?
Right.
So the parts that we don't want to do, our weak part, that is where we ask somebody who is an expert in their strength to do what we're weak at. See, our pastor touched on that all on Sunday, where your weak is. Somebody come in and step up who is strong in that area. So as a CEO, as a boss, whatever we want to call ourselves, Rachel, all the time, these little accolades that we want to use and titles, you're not a boss unless you have these conversations with your CPA. Like you're not a boss unless your CPA is calling you and saying, hey, what was this? When did you do this? Like, when did that happen? Like, where you going? I just booked a trip. Shout out to Laura. She is speaking from the podium, and I will be flying to Atlanta for her event. And she literally put it up, and I said, yeah, I'll be in town, and I booked my flight in 2 seconds. And I got my CPA like, okay, where you going? Like, what's that? Now, where's that money pulling from? You know what I'm saying? So
right.
As an entrepreneur, right? In the entrepreneur business side, how much account should you have as an entrepreneur from the business standpoint? What if you're just starting out? Or if you're just starting out?
Okay, let's say you're just starting out and you're like, well, I'm not even ready for a CPA. I barely got my LLCs, last week. I was still working on business cards and websites and stuff. At least what you could do is get a notebook. They could get their Sherri notebook and write in the back somewhere. There you go. And they can start writing, because your LLC was not free. Your business cards was not free. Your website was not free. All these things that you collect, acquire, create for your business, most of that stuff is not free. So you need to be keeping account of it so that when you get to a level of not even maybe needing the CPA the first year or two, you still want to present this stuff to your tax person. You want to be able to present them, your receipts where you went out to eat and you had a business conference with someone, or you went to a conference, just a conference, or you booked a flight and your CPA can't call you yet to ask you where you're going if it's a business flight. Did you drive to Atlanta instead of flying to Atlanta? You want to mark those miles down, because you want to be able to take all this stuff to your tax person and then have them do your taxes.
I love it. I love it. And there's always an app for that. There's always an
Yeah.
app for that. Do you have any apps that you think they could use, especially a startup that can record their receipt or so things like that?
Well, right now I use Stride
Mm-hmm.
Tax is the
Mm-hmm.
one I use right now, Stride Tax. But QuickBooks also has an app, and they also have the website you can go to. And then one of the interviews I did with the CPA, what I learned is she said just take pictures of all your receipts and email them to yourself, and then separate the emails by months. So let's say it's 2019, then you got your January emails, your February, March, April, May. You just go all, so you'll have in that 2019 folder, you'll have
Mm-hmm.
12 other folders. And each one of those will be a month. And then that way she's like, you don't even got to know what to collect. Just collect them all, take a picture, email it to yourself, put the email in the folder. She's like, at the end of the year, send me the link to the folder. That's it. I was like, yes.
Y'all, if you haven't already shared this broadcast, what are you waiting on? We are dropping nuggets and gem and practical steps to what? To keep more of the money you are earning, y'all. Let me tell you something. What would you have paid for these nuggets? What would you pay for these things? You only hear it here on my Facebook page. Listen, go ahead and share this broadcast. Tag somebody that needs to hear this. The information is amazing that we're getting. If you are just joining us, we're talking to the beautiful Raeshal Solomon, and she's teaching us how to keep more of the money that we earn and telling us practical steps, step-by-step systems and tools, things that we can use, right? Not complicated steps, simple things, but at the end of the day, it will bring great results and great reward. So going back to some of the things that you said, Raeshal, first of all, you're doing an amazing job and you just dropping nuggets after nuggets. Some of y'all gonna have to go back and literally replay this again and tag your friend that needed to hear this. We're in our fourth quarter. We're in our fourth quarter, and I've been saying to them that things are always happening. More money's made in fourth quarter than any other time, right? This is when people spend on things that they don't need.
Yes.
This is when, and the producers as in Amazon, JC Penney's, Walmart, whatever, Costco, whatever that place, they know, right? They know that you're just have a credit card saying, where's the deal at, right? Well,
Right.
how do we keep it all together from a financial standpoint and still be able to save some of the money we make? Because sometimes we think that we're buying sales on Black Friday is a good deal, but sometimes it's just a markup deal. Like these are the things that in the sales, so we rearrange the price to make it more comfortable and you'll buy it because it's eye catching. In other words, for the people who don't know, I'm selling this phone, this iPhone, and then I said, okay, let me add a pen with the iPhone. Now you're selling these things together as a bonus, but the phone price remained the same, but you don't realize because you saw the pen with the phone as a bonus, right?
Right. Right. Okay. So what I would say right there is one, you need to do true research.
Yes.
So, because knowledge is still always key. And for us with internet and technology, it's so much easier to research. So you can compare prices. You can ask people, if you're doing, let's say this one, let me start over. I started saving for Christmas in January.
Woo! Yeah, did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that?
Let's start there. I have a savings account that accrues interest the whole year for Christmas. Let's start there.
Drop mic. Drop mic. Drop mic. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I put that nugget out there to say this. January 1st, go open you up a savings account that gains interest. And every month for that 12 months or 11 months, put some money in it. The same amount every month, just have it auto draft out of your account. Okay. Now let's go back to the people who don't do that for now. One, research is key. And having a budget for just Christmas is a reasonable thing. First of all, my kids, we might want to filter this part. My kids know Santa Claus is not real. They only 6 and 7. After Christmas last year, I had to tell them. I was like, let me explain something to you. There's no fat guy in the background saying ho 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 and dropping Merry Christmas stuff on your front porch. And I wasn't stealing their joy. I just wanted them to know, if you put something on this Christmas list and it don't show up, that's because mama decided that that wasn't a good financial investment. So with that being said, I'm not stealing Christmas, because now they have more fun because we write our Christmas list together as a group, and they know whatever goes on that list, mommy approves it. They gonna actually get it for Christmas.
I love that. I love that. So now, which
week.
bring me into my son is 7 as well. He just turned 7, which brings me into our next conversation. And this is about helping our youth become more educated.
Yes.
My son was going to a private school, and I was shocked to see that they were doing financial literacy, but it was more about counting money, what is a quarter, what is a dollar at 7 years old, but they weren't going deep in depth. So you just transitioned me speaking about the kids. How do we start having this conversation around money and investment? Like my son is literally listening. Like he's like, Mommy, I don't want anything for my birthday but a credit card. I'm like, a credit card? Boy, please. So he just realized that somebody had to put that money on the credit card. Right? So how do we have this now, start to have this conversation? Because if we want to change the economy, if we want to change, let me go ahead. I'm still tagging some people in here as they come in. Guys, it's doing really good. Go ahead and tag somebody. How do we start having the conversation? Because listen, if you check our moms or grandmas and so on, no one had those conversations before. So no one, right? So we had a generation of women and men and all this stuff that didn't know anything. They even had the inkling that we could create wealth. Right. So knowing that now the floodgates of opportunity, I say it all the time, has opened. Now that it's open, how do we start having a conversation with a new generation that they're smarter and wiser when it comes to money?
Okay, so let's first of all, thank you for bringing this topic up because I love it. This is my favorite thing to talk about. Okay, so 1, your kids are smart. I don't care how old they could be 3. I started teaching my kids about money when they was 2. I started teaching them money concepts. Not that this is a penny, dollar, a quarter, money concepts when they was 2, because kids today are smart. So 1, don't doubt the intelligence of your child. Whatever you're willing to teach them, they are willing to learn it. That is 1. So how do you start teaching a 2-year-old about money? I'm sure people are going to ask this question. You tell them where it goes. Money goes in the bank. So a bank can be a piggy bank when they're 2. That's all they can understand. When they turn 4 or 5, a bank becomes the institution. You take them to a physical bank with their piggy bank and let them deposit their own money. Because then they see, okay, that's, money goes in a bank, but a bank is actually also a building. That's how you get them at 4 or 5 to show them that part. At 4 or 5, now you can also pull out your cell phone, log into their account, because I get this question all the time. Well, we're so cashless now. How are we supposed to teach our kids about money? Everything is electronic. You pull out that cell phone for that account you just created for them, and you go online checking, online savings for your child. So now they know they put $35 in the bank, and now they see there's a 35.
I love it.
And all of a sudden, to them, something, the technology part for us it was a little harder. It takes us a minute. For them, it's like click, click, click. It all just makes sense. It's little pieces of a puzzle and it all fit together. I call it where you're scaling. So you're teaching a kid at the level that they can comprehend. And every year that, it gets a little better and your discussion gets a little more deeper. And let's say now you have teenagers and you ain't taught them nothing about money. Now you got to cram all this in their brain in the next 2 years or 4 years before they leave your house, right? So what you do is, kids already have some concept of money because 1, they're always listening.
Yes,
they're listening. They're listening to you. They're watching television. They listening to their friends. They're listening to their friends' parents. So they have some concept of money. So if you have a teenager, what you need to do is ask them questions. See what they already know, and then build a conversation from there. And then ask them what questions they have for you, because they have questions, but they don't know it's appropriate yet to come and talk to you about these things because you haven't told them that it was. And think about it. When you were a kid, money was a taboo subject. Money was a taboo topic. That was an adult conversation you wasn't allowed to have. They might feel the same way because they don't know that it's okay. So you just got to tell them, it's okay. Let's talk about this money thing. They're always asking you for it anyway, especially if they're a teenager.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, I didn't want to stop you because you were just going into it, and I love it. I love, because even when I became a real estate investor, and I literally downsized, right? I literally downsized to having a place for just my son and I rented out my place and became a tenant. So I had a tenant and became a landlord. Money was cash flowing, right? But my son, my young son, is like, why are we going to a smaller home? Like, why are we going to smaller, right? But I had to literally educate him and says, well, now you got money coming in. So some things that you wanted, and this is how wealth is created. But speaking from his terminology, because what he saw was a smaller home, smaller size home. But right. I had to say, now look at this. Now mommy has more money to put in the bank now that we went, and we didn't, the places that we want to go now has increased, and we can afford to go certain places. Because I really didn't want to think like, okay, we're making we're not a sacrifice, but we're lacking in any manner. I don't want to tell the spirit of lack. There's the reason why we're making this sacrifice is so when you want to go somewhere, now we can have a more affordability way to do it. So having those conversations, I agree, is so vital, because the kid, like you said, kids are smart and kids understand. And I think watching we have a tendency to shun our kids, like, go to the room, don't do this, don't do that. And I think that's also that we need to stop, because when kids get curious and we feel that curiosity, because if we don't, somebody else will. And literally having a conversation with us about money. My son know about paying his tithes. He know about saving his piggy bank, some things that you just touch on. And if there's a bigger item, we have a fund in saving for the item. Like, okay, how much money do we need to go? Because he have a thing of every time he breaks something, he be like, just take it in my piggy bank. Like his piggy bank never go empty. Like his piggy bank never go empty. So and instead of buying him all this huge thing, now I came to the realization, I just buy one grade, like a computer or a laptop, and that's his gift. Because he's gonna break something anyways. So I love that about how you say having a conversation, and you say taking them to the bank and let them see the actual bank, and taking the piggy bank and dumping it in there and say, hey, this is where your money went. Then look on their phone, because I know all these kids got a phone now. Here is where it's at. I'm telling you, Raeshal, your information is so practical, is so on point, is so amazing. And these are definite things that we need to implement in our business, because in our business and in our kids, because if we don't, no one else will.
Right. They don't teach this stuff. They should teach this stuff in schools, but they don't. And it's really more of a hot topic or something that the politicians can talk about, but it's not really something that people are actually doing anything about right now. So in that time, you're the parent, you have to fill in the gap. You know what I mean?
I love it. I want to be here and talk to you forever, but I know we can't. We got things to do. I know I already took up your schedule. You're like, yes, we're doing it today. Where can people get more information about you? Where can people find you? Do you have any digital programs you offer, especially for the kids you're talking about? Do you have anything for them? Go ahead and tell us about your stuff and your services.
Yes. So the easiest way to find me, you can go to mylittlebanker.com and you can find me there. I also have Raeshal Speaks. Raeshal Speaks is where my blog is, but mylittlebanker.com is where you can find me easily. And then you can find all my other stuff, because I have financial literacy books for children, and they are reflected in the character. So people seem to love that part.
I love it.
And, I have blogs there that you can read. And my podcast also, Raeshal Speaks, is once a week. And I talk financial literacy, and I also talk business.
I
So,
love it. I
yes.
love it. I love it. I thank you so much for taking time out of your business schedule, your investor as well, and just to come here
Yes.
and speak with us. I love it. We need more of you. We need more of you in our school. We need more of you in our school system because these kids, even high school kids, you're wondering why these kids are returning back from college because they didn't gain the wisdom and knowledge to stay in college or stay in certain things so they can say no to certain things when they come up on them. When it comes to find it, as soon as you go to college, Rachel, you know, they offer you a credit card and a t-shirt.
Yes.
Girl, I know I was a victim of one of those.
Me too. Me too.
I was a victim of one of those. So I know, right? There was no one in my ear saying, girl, that's how they gonna get you.
Right. Like, how are you giving me a credit card? I don't even got a job. What are we doing?
No one ain't gonna pay. Girl, did you just say, how you gonna give me a credit card when you know I ain't got a job? Exactly. Right. But that t-shirt though, and that t-shirt, we never even wear the t-shirt,
we
right?
Did not. Yes. Yes.
But again, it's just some type of free gift. Going back to psychology, it's a free gift that they offer to us. So I thank you for being the voice of the people to change the economy and change the way we think. I love it, love it, love it. Listen, I have to have you back on here. I'm excited.
Yes.
Hey guys, we're going to end this today, but I wanted to really, really thank Raeshal and Solomon for coming on here and giving us some practical nuggets. She talks about making sure you're saving for Christmas from all the way to January. Well, that's one thing she talked about. She also talked about using software system to literally record your receipts. She talked about taking picture of your receipts and emailing it to yourself. I remember that one because I caught it. Yeah. And there's so much practical things that she talked about in here. If you're just joining us, guys, you got to get back to replay because it was so good. This is why I do these broadcasts. This is why I'm the queen of live stream. This is why I bring these guests on, because I just want to thank you, because my job is to make sure I educate the masses on how to create multiple streams of income and keep the money that they make. Raeshal, any final words you want to say before you get off?
I would just like to say thank you so much for having me here. I really, really appreciate it. I really do. Thank you so much. And just if you have questions, just send me out your questions and I will answer them. I would happily answer your questions.
I love it. I love it. All right, guys, we're getting ready to end, but I could not end without telling you guys thank you for actually tuning in. That's your first step that you're taking to increase your revenue power and also increase more money that you're making in your home and keep that money that you are making in your home. Now, it's your girl, Sherri Somers, your revenue attraction educator. Have an amazing day. Happy Tuesday.